What's up? Welcome to Forte Catholic Radio. I'm your host, Taylor Stroll. It's great to be here with you today. Today is a very special day in the history of Forte Catholic. Today is going to break the record for most people in the studio live at one time. I'm going to let them introduce themselves here in just a second. But first, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do today. So last week, we had a pretty heavy show. I was sharing a lot of things from the retreat. So if you like ultra spiritual episodes, you can go check it out right now, fortecatholic.com/radio. You can find all the old episodes. Listen to last week. It was really a lot of fun, but it really was more meaty than some of our normal shows. So I thought this week we're going to keep it nice and lighthearted. Just have some fun. We got a fun guest today, Mr. Marcel LeJeune, who's a local hero. He's a beautiful, beautiful bald man. He's the bald man that I want to be when I grow up. He's coming into the studio here in about 15 minutes or so to talk about millennials and old people. So everybody in the studio right now is a millennial. And Marcel worked in college campus ministry for, I think, over 15 years, and he's very well-renowned. He was a campus minister here where we were recording the show from at St. Mary's Catholic Center, which is the Catholic Center for Texas A&M. It's one of, if not the best Catholic student center in the nation, and he had a large hand in that for a very, very long time. So he is, I'll ask him how old he is when he gets here, but he's probably in his 40s, maybe, yeah, probably not 50 yet. He's probably in his 40s is what we're guessing. So not a millennial, right? But he's worked with and besides millennials for a very long time. So I wanted to have him come on. We're going to be talking about how to bridge the gap in the faith, in the church, between millennials and non-millennials, right? So I'm sure he has some great things to say, and the 5 millennials who are currently in the studio will either get a lot out of it or just glare at him for 17 minutes throughout the second segment there. In the first and third segment, we're going to have some fun. The first segment, Miss Sam Shepard is here again, one of our favorite guests on the show very often. Say hi, Sam.
Hello.
Hey, you doing all right today?
I am. I'm really excited about today.
Get a little closer to that mic, and Jake, make sure we can hear her. Everybody say, hey, Jake, Mr. Producer Man. He doesn't have a mic, so he's waving to you. He's looking very beautiful today in a shirt with Jesus on the front, which makes him a Christian. That's actually the first requirement of being Christian is wearing a shirt with my face on it. If you haven't seen the Jesus dubbed videos, do your favor. Do your favor now. Do yourself a favor. And do a favor for someone else. But first, do yourself a favor. Go on YouTube, find the Jesus Dub videos, and you'll thank me later. We also have Kyle, a.k.a. the Heathen Turner, in the studio. What's up, Kyle?
What's going on?
Oh, not much. I'm just doing my radio show live on the air. It's nice.
Oh, has that started?
Oh, yeah, it has.
No.
So watch your mouth.
Okay. All right.
So we have a Patreon page, and on that page we'll be adding content of like pre-show stuff, like off-air interviews with some of our guests.
It gets pretty spicy.
It really does. So if you want the like unedited version of the show, you can head over to patreon.com to hear Kyle be more of a heathen than he is being right now. Kyle's going to get me fired one day. I just know it. But speaking of podcasts, and Kyle and Sam have been on the show quite a bit, and I have put them through quite a bit of heck. We'll say that for the young listeners listening, right? With some of the games that I've played, some of these trivia games, and so I thought we'd turn the tables. And I said, Sam, why don't you prepare a game for me, our producer Jake, and Kyle the Heathen Turner to play? So that's what we're going to do here in just a second. Stay with us though. We got Marcel coming in the second segment, and in the third segment, we're going to be looking at an R&B song, what that has to do with Song of Songs, why the term I am black and beautiful is in the Song of Songs. We'll be looking at all that, so stay tuned for our third segment. So first, a few introductions before we play this game. How we're going to do this is you get 2 sentences. So just so we can get to know our contestants and get to know our hosts a little bit. We went to this youth ministry training at the diocese the other day, and they said, well, how would you explain yourself, like describe yourself to somebody if you couldn't say like what you do, not defined by your job, but like who actually are you at your core? And then I thought, well, I'm a Catholic husband and father. That's typically how I introduce myself, right? Then he's like, no, it can't be what you do. It can't be anything that you're good at. I'm like, oh, that's fine. I'm a Catholic husband and father, right? Because, I try, but I'm not the greatest at those few things. So that's my introduction. There was one other funny thing from our intros when we were introducing ourselves to our small groups, sitting at our table at that training. And a lot of people were saying, that's what I said. Somebody else said, I'm a child of God.
I said that.
Right. Yeah, Sam was like, I'm a child of God. So the leader heard that and he was like, well, if you're a child of God, what does that mean if you're in traffic? And some people were like, oh, that means that you're supposed to let other people through, view everybody else as a child of God. That was kind of his whole point. If we're children of God, then so is everybody else, even the jerk in traffic. And then I was sitting over there saying like, well, if I'm in traffic, I recognize that we're all children of God, but I'm a blessed and highly favored child of God, so these fools need to get out of my way. So if you've never listened to the show before, that is me. That is Forte Catholic. Sam, you don't have to do like the super holy version, but you get 2 sentences. How would you like to reintroduce yourself to our friends listening on Forte Catholic?
Hello, I am Sam. I
am
a child.
I like green eggs and ham. I did it for you. All right, go ahead, Kyle.
Okay. Kyle Turner is fearless. Kyle Turner is scared of everything.
All right, Jake,
Okay.
our friendly producer, Jake, how would you like to introduce yourself?
I am the backbone of this operation.
We all just laughed. Kyle just choked on his water.
I keep us together.
You
and
do,
on air.
You do keep us together.
Sometimes too long.
It's absolutely fantastic. Jake keeps everything going. Like when we're moving mics around, it's really important for Jake to be checking the levels of our mics because sometimes I'm a little louder than other people. So Jake's actually going to turn around right now and do that. Everybody say, thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the people lilistening in the car
sorry.
right now.
Sorry.
I heard them.
It's like Blue's Clues. You're like giving them something to say, yelling at their radios.
Very good.
Very good.
All right, Sam. So why don't you introduce this game? So before we even get started, I told you don't tell me like what the game is, so I don't know what's happening.
It's true.
You did tell me where it came from, so we have to do a shameless plug for Download Youth Ministry. Also, it's not only a shameless plug, but I also don't want to get sued. So
Good
all
call.
of these games come from Download Youth Ministry. We use them in our youth ministries all the time. Fun games to play with young people. Fun games to play with millennials. We'll see what Marcel has to say about those in a second. But why don't you introduce the game for us?
Yeah, so it's really simple. I'm gonna read a lyric to you, and your job is to tell me if it's from a love song or a worship song.
Aren't worship songs just love songs for God?
Oh, you got her.
Truth.
Got her.
That's true.
I win the game. It's over.
No,
That's
no,
it.
no. Doesn't work that way.
All right.
So a secular love song.
Right.
Gotcha.
So how this is going to work, right? You're going to ask a question, and then we're all going to take turns answering it, and then you're going to keep the points, and then we will announce a winner by the end of the segment.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready, set, go.
Here's the first one. I need your lovin' in my life. You're the only one whose love is better than life.
Okay. What are the options again? No, I'm gonna say love song.
I'm going love song as well.
I agree. It just sounds, the word loving is.
Just so wrong.
What?
All three.
All of us?
That is a worship song, Jesus I Long by Hillsong United.
I don't
Read it
think I
again.
would use that.
I
that
need your
phrasing.
lovin' in my life.
I need your lovin'.
You're
Like,
the only.
If it was loving, like with a G, but lovin', like
It
with an
does.
apostrophe.
It has the
That's what I'm saying.
apostrophe. I
That's
read
what I'm
it.
saying.
That's crazy. We're all terrible.
It's okay.
Those
you know?
Hillsong, Australia, they use different words.
It's true.
They're from Australia.
They have an
and
accent.
Yep, it's changing.
Cool. Ready for the next
Changing,
one?
not changing.
You see what I did there?
I see it.
All right, here we
I
go.
also heard it because this is radio.
Number 2.
Number 2.
'Cause you are mine, forever love, watching from up above.
That sounds like it has to be praise and worship.
Or it's like a love song to somebody who has passed away.
Yeah.
'Cause you are mine, forever love, watching from up above.
Does anybody else like making up the melodies to these songs? I'm trying to like figure them out.
Not
I'm
even a little bit.
gonna say worship song.
I agree.
Yeah, I feel like it's a trick. I'm gonna go. I feel like it's a candle in the wind or something. I'm gonna say a love song.
Kyle was right.
Yeah.
It's a
Dang it,
love
Kyle.
song. To Where You Are by Josh Groban.
Oh, I was so close.
Dang it, Kyle.
So close. Yeah.
I've always wanted to do that in the air. I
Elton
finally
John
could.
and Josh Groban are essentially the same person.
They're so very similar.
Yeah.
If they walked by me in a grocery store, I'd be like, "Hey, look, there's Josh Groban and Elton John."
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. I'm coming to you for the love that I need. I'm desperate for your touch.
And I'm desperate for you. I'm desperate for your touch.
I'm
Um,
coming
That's
to
so
you
tricky.
for the love
Yep.
that I need. I'm desperate for your touch. Love song or worship song?
I'm going love song again.
I'm desperate for your touch. Like, I feel like I'm gonna get tricked by the really easy one, so I have to say love song because it sounds like a love song.
Okay.
Contrary. I'm going to be contrary and say worship song.
Jake is right.
Woo!
Worship
Dang it.
song. Seeking You, Hillsong. Just Hillsong United.
Hillsong, what are they doing over there?
Everyone else-
Hillsong needs to go to a purity conference.
Okay, here we go. Sometimes I run, sometimes I hide, sometimes I'm scared of you, but all I really want is to hold you tight. Love song or worship song?
Say it again.
Sometimes I run, sometimes I hide, sometimes I'm scared of you, but all I really want is to hold you tight.
That better be a worship song because that's a weird love song.
Oh no! See,
Sometimes I'm scared of you.
oh no! See, I think it's backwards. I think you're thinking backwards. If it's a worship song, it's kind of weird.
No, I'm scared of God sometimes.
No, I'm not. You would listen to it. I'm not debating that. It's a weird worship song. I'm saying love song.
It's worship for sure.
Love song.
Oh, it's worship.
Love song.
Absolutely love song.
It's Britney Spears. Sometimes I run, sometimes I hide.
So score update.
Oh, dang it, I wasn't right.
scared of you.
Score update.
Dang it.
Kyle and I have 2.
Dang
And
it.
Taylor has 0.
I have 0.
We thought you would be good at this.
I really thought you were going to be good at this.
The O in Forte Catholic is for 0.
That's exactly right.
Okay. You got this. You guys got this. You have been the beauty in the song I sing, the fragrance of the rain. You have been the mystery in my deepest dreams. You make me fly away. Worship song or love song?
Kyle's looking this up with Siri.
No,
I
I'm not. I'm
think.
keeping score. I feel like all 3 of us should say what it is because I think that's obvious, right?
It's not obvious.
It's
I
not
don't-
obvious. Okay, well then y'all go.
Say it again.
I was checking levels, so I wasn't actually paying attention. Say it again.
You have been the beauty in the song I sing, the fragrance of the rain. You have been the mystery in my deepest dreams. You make me fly away.
Golly.
Love song.
Kyle knows it. I think you know this song. I think it's a worship song.
Love song.
I'm going worship.
But then again, it's probably a love song because I'm wrong every time.
Worship song.
Yeah, Taylor got a point.
Did Jenny-
Take My Heart by Phil Wickham.
Oh, of course it's
Take
Phil
my
Wickham.
heart and form it. It's a different song.
Different song. Okay, ready?
Guys, I'm a worship leader. I can sing.
Oh my God.
Take my heart.
This is great. Maybe you could be the light that opens my eyes, make all my wrongs right. Change me, change me.
It's that famous "Change Me" song. I think it's a love song.
I think it's worship.
Worship.
Love song. Only Kyle.
I should have
I'm
said
so
love.
confused by the sound.
I know. I don't really know how to do it successfully.
She does the sound with her finger, and then we all just stare at her. We're like, we don't know what that means.
Yeah.
What are you
To
gonna
be
tell-
fair, if we get the bad sound, that means all of us were terribly wrong.
That's what all the people
That
listening
happened
are
at the
rooting
beginning.
for.
So this was Change Me by Justin Bieber.
Oh, that's why I knew it. Oh no, what is this live?
It's just like,
Oh well.
I can edit that out later.
Okay, good.
Only the live people.
Edit it out of the listeners' ears, please.
We can do so we do have like a cuss button where we can drop the last 7 seconds on live air.
Oh,
So-
why isn't that accessible at all
I
times?
love Justin Bieber. Oh, we
Oh,
can't
no.
say that on the air.
That's swearing.
Basically the same
My
thing.
mama don't like you. Yeah,
She likes everyone.
perfect.
Oh, good job. All right, here we go.
Thanks, Sam.
You have me. You have my heart completely. Worship song or love song?
Worship.
Worship.
Love.
Aww. It was worship.
Can we just give Jake the wrong answer real
Okay,
quick?
yeah.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is for Jake.
All right, good.
Thank you.
All right, what's the score at? We have like 3 minutes left.
Yeah, I'm keeping score. The score is Taylor and Jake are tied for last with 2 points each, and I am winning with 5.
Oh my god!
And also, I'm keeping score, so that's completely accurate.
Yeah, people at home are like, they all have 2. Kyle's cheating. All right, go ahead, Sam.
All right. I want to give you my world to reveal all I am and all I've become.
You know, I think
That's tough.
I'm going with Love Song.
I'm going love too.
I forgot to pay attention again. Love song.
Dang it.
Worship song.
Dang it.
Rough.
That was
I
also.
think the only way I could come back with 2 minutes left is just to say the exact opposite of Kyle. It's the only
Yeah.
chance I have. I should have done it that time.
Let me guess, that was a Hillsong song?
No, Phil Wickham.
Oh, okay. Oh, dang,
Give
Phil.
you my word.
What's
Phil
going
Wickham.
on with him? Is he okay? Is Phil okay?
It's fine. Okay, here we go. You got
It's
this.
those artsy fartsy worship songs that I can't get behind.
Here we go.
Jesus isn't a flower?
Like a rose. Okay.
Trampled on the ground.
All my life, I was blind. Now I see.
Unless it's a
Amazing
Stevie
Grace.
Wonder song, I'm going with praise and worship. Worship.
Praise and worship.
Praise and worship. I love worshiping praise and worship. Some youth groups do that.
I'll say worship as well.
What'd you say, Kyle? Worship. Love.
Love.
Yes.
Good job.
All right, what's the score? I only have a minute left.
3 to 5 to 2. I have 2.
All right, come on, hurry up. 2 more.
Okay. Pour out my heart to say that I love you. Pour out my heart to say that I need you. Pour out my heart to say I'm thankful. Pour out my heart to say you're wonderful.
Oh, I feel like Wonderful is always a worship song. I'm going worship.
I think it's worship, but I'm saying love just so I can come back.
Love.
Worship.
Dang
Rough.
I just snorted on the air. This is great.
That's amazing.
All right, one more. Kyle's the winner, but one more.
I am the winner,
Are-
regardless of what happens.
Are me and Jake tied now?
No, you're beating him by 1.
Okay, we have to. The game's over.
It's over. It's
The
done.
game's now. The game's now over. Congratulations, Kyle, the heathen Turner, for being the winner of our game. I'm a worship leader, and I just lost the game to a guy.
Yeah, not great. Not great for
who
you.
goes by the heathen. So, this was a lot of fun. Thank you, Sam, for preparing that game for us.
No problem.
I'm mad at you because I lost.
I'm sorry.
It's completely your fault. It has nothing to do with me. I take no responsibility. That's what millennials say. And so in the next segment, we're going to be talking to Marcel about millennials and what we can do to fix the church. We will be right back for our second segment. Stay tuned. All right, we are back to Forte Catholic. We are here with local hero, local star, Mr. Marcel LeJeune. He's looking at the Pope on a picture. The Pope is not here.
Yeah.
We have to settle for you, Mr. Hero. How are you, Marcel?
Not heroic.
You're not.
No.
You're not.
No. Yeah, I'm not heroic.
You're pretty though.
Well, one day everybody's going to have a glorified body.
Yeah.
That day has not arrived yet. But once we get into heaven, yeah, the glow will come. I have the natural glow.
Yeah, there you
It'll
go.
be enhanced by, the radiance of God's
There you
glory.
go.
Yeah.
Your bald head is what I'm striving for.
Amen.
My hairline's following after you. What the look in your eyes when I said that you were pretty? There was a moment in your eyes where you're like, I'm going to get up and leave. Like
Yeah.
I really thought about it.
I was trying to make sure there was a clear way to the exit if this went anywhere else, like into the love song, portion of the show.
Yeah.
Or if we went, but even the worship song might have been creepier.
Though we
So
they are creepy.
if you start quoting worship song lyrics to me, I'm out. All
Okay.
right? I just want to point that out.
We won't do that. But the reason I have 4 other people in the studio is that if I say something that offends you and you want to leave, you can't.
Oh, actually, I can. I can.
You actually can't get offended because you're not a millennial. We have
Oh.
that. We have that realm.
I'm
for us.
rarely offended, but it is possible. I'm never awkward, though.
You are not awkward.
I don't get awkward. It's just fun. It's fun for me because everybody else around me sometimes gets awkward and they're like, this is awkward. And I'm not awkward, but everybody else is feeling awkward. And I'm thinking, This is fun. This is a lot of fun.
That's pretty awkward. I ain't gonna lie. This was just Marcel's self-examination live on the air. So Marcel is a Catholic speaker and author. He's well-renowned, well-respected campus minister here at St. Mary's for many, many years until very recently. We were building you up at the beginning of the show. Just one of the best campus ministries in the nation. I know you had a large part in that, and I actually had the special privilege of you being my spiritual director for a few months
until I kicked you out.
You kicked me out.
Yeah. Sorry.
Like, you're really good at being a spiritual director, but you knew looking at me after a few sessions, you're like, I can't fix that guy.
It's nothing to work with here. Yeah. No, that wasn't it at all, people. That wasn't it. There were other extenuating circumstances. Nothing with Taylor.
Right.
Full disclosure, I can't say anything else. It's all internal forum.
Oh, okay. So I can't say anything else either.
No, you can. You can share. It's like confession. You can say what you want, but internal.
Oh, I
forum
thought you meant
stuff,
like why we stopped. So the joke is actually because like you were doing spiritual direction for college students here, and like y'all needed to focus more on the college students. So you left me for a younger man. Is actually what happened.
Kind of on younger men, and then I ended up leaving my job. So I'm like, well, yeah, So that's kind of what happened. It was weird.
It really was.
It was like the Holy Spirit just said, "Hey, dude, I don't want you to be here anymore." And I went, you mean like not work? I've been doing campus ministry for 15 years. So yeah, it was weird. But anyway, love millennials. That's what we're supposed to be talking about, right?
Yeah. So let's get into that. So you obviously in your work with campus ministry here, you worked with all millennials, right?
Yeah.
Like that's who you're ministering to.
Yeah.
How old of a guy are you? We were trying to guess earlier.
Oh, well, let's have the game.
Yeah. All right, let's guess. I think
Oh, this
I have to guess low to be. I'm going to try to guess exact. I'm not going to guess.
I'm putting
low.
my ring upside down so you can't get
40,
my ear.
44. 44.
Okay. Who's next?
I'm going to say 39.
He's trying to win points.
Yeah, I know.
39.
All right, one more.
45.
Okay. You're closest, Taylor.
I'm closest.
I'll be 44 in July.
Okay, so
next month.
I'm a month off. That's actually really impressive.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have you come on to talk about how we can bridge the gap between millennials and an older generation, right?
Yeah.
So people,
and I'm older.
You are.
I am.
People your age and up. So I know you have a few things that you'd like to share with us. So like what do millennials need to know to help bridge the gap in intergenerational ministry? And then what do older people need to know about college students, millennials?
Yeah. First of all, you could do, a dozen shows on this topic alone. But first things first, we got to tell some of the folks who may not even know millennials what the millennial generation is. So basically, you're talking about your 30-something, your 20-something, and then down to about your 17-year-olds at this point. So most of the millennial generation is out of youth ministry and into campus ministry and young adult ministry at this point. My daughter is actually right at the tail end. She's going A&M next year. She's 18 this summer. She's at the very tail end of the millennial generation. So they're pretty much graduating out of youth ministry. You got one more year behind her that would be considered youth ministry millennials. That's it. And then all young adult and campus ministry. So what's happening is that millennial generation is actually getting older into the workforce, and the majority of them are in the workforce, which is why you're getting all these studies now, which you're talking about millennials in the workplace and millennials having problems with older generation folks and millennials in the church. So you got a lot of data out there right now. Quite honestly, one of the biggest issues is trying to sort through it to figure out what are the nuggets we need to take out of that. I give you one or two real quick. First of all, it's a generation that cares about stuff that a lot of other generations don't care about. And in my opinion, it's a good thing. So for instance, the environment is way up high on the list of what's important to this generation. Satisfaction in the workplace, happiness, personal happiness and getting something out of life. These are all things that millennial generation kids are now wanting. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is you get a flip of that. Some people would, the studies say that they're, as a generation, of course, work habits just aren't quite there yet. Sometimes they can be a little bit selfish. Always looking out for number one and, not necessarily tied to organizations or stuff like that. They don't have a lot of commitment to things. So you get some good with the bad. What I would say to people, if you start complaining about the millennial generation, you better start complaining about their parents because they're the ones who set them up for failure. Okay? I mean, honestly, the boomer generation, which is the parents of most of these millennials, that generation, if there's big problems in the millennial generation, then they utterly failed as parents. That's the way we have to look at this. And so we shouldn't be blaming the millennials for the problems of our society today. We should be blaming past generations. And we better take a look in the mirror as older generations and say, we have a lot of work to do with these young folks to really help them to be successful in the workplace, in families, in relationships, and in the church too.
So now that you have everybody over 35 listening to the show, mad at them.
No, honestly, I hope so, because let's do something about it. A lot of people don't get to the point where they want to do something until they have some kind of emotional reaction.
Right. So now that we have that emotional reaction, what would be some of those things that you would say? Like, how do the older generations help millennials to be a part of the church community? How can we see them in a good light, see them as Christ does?
So, well, the first thing is there's one of the things that millennials will focus on quite a bit that I didn't mention, and that's belonging. They want to belong to community. They want to feel like their time is being well spent. They want to feel like they matter to the community. And unfortunately, in most Catholic parishes, that just isn't the case for the vast majority of the way people experience that parish life. So what does that tell us? That tells us that there's a lot of work left to be done at the parish level and at the local level to helping to integrate young people into the life of the church. And what does that tell us? Part of the way we've operated in the past has failed. Now, we know this has failed because we look at the data and more Catholics don't go to church than go to church. More Catholics are not going to go to Mass this next weekend than will go to Mass this next weekend. And part of the reason is at the local level, we don't build community. We don't get people involved. We don't help set up people for success. And we're certainly not evangelizing and discipling people, which ultimately is where the heart of every generation lies, but especially telltale signs in belonging to community in the millennial generation. That's something that we really need to start to help people understand. This is how you do it.
Yeah. So how do we do that? Because we've had this model for so long, it's not working. And like, I mean, as a young person, like
so you consider yourself a young person?
No, I'm talking about
dear young people on the other side of the room. Do y'all consider Taylor a young person?
They're only like 2-3 years younger than me. But like, a few years ago when I was a young youth minister right out of college, I had always had a youth group community, and then I had like a campus ministry community.
Yeah.
And then I got back to the parish, and there really wasn't any. There was like a small young adult community.
Oh,
and
come
then
on! It was a black hole of
Right.
community. Let's be honest.
And then there was the Knights of Columbus, where I think you could join at my age, and I did, but I think you had to be at least 70 to like actually get something out of it.
And well, here's the thing with what's happening in most parishes is most Catholics don't understand what it looks like to actually disciple somebody, to be evangelized, and to have community. So let's start with evangelization. Evangelization is supposed to include an explicit proclamation of the gospel where, well, let's even back up before that. You got pre-evangelization where you're building relationships and friendships with people so that you can have a right to be heard. And when you earn that right to be heard because now you've built a relationship, then you proclaim good news to them. And it starts first with your life, but then it has to be explicit. I'm going to tell you, Jesus Christ loves you so much, he wants you in heaven. However you want to proclaim good news. And then there's a response. Somebody says yes to that in faith, and then that person from there is discipled or accompanied or walked with into a further deepening of the relationship with Jesus Christ and with the other person, and then you surround them with community. See, we don't have any of this stuff in the average parish. It's accidental, in other words, if somebody comes into contact with Jesus in an intentional way and says yes to him in faith. Or maybe it's on a retreat or a conference or something else, but we're not doing it at the parish level in ways that really transformational way. And then once we get them to that point, we don't know how to really walk with them and disciple them and take them under our wing and say, this is what living a life of a Christian looks like. And I got to tell you, working with young people, I had to go and learn that by doing it myself with them and messing up, and doing it with them and messing up, and doing it with them to learn how to disciple somebody, because I wasn't given that opportunity either. So it's kind of like, it's a lot to learn, but that's basically the formula for every generation. And millennials will tell us, in my experience of church, I'm not getting any of this, which is why they're saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. And that's something the church needs to respond to adequately and quickly. And thank God we've got a little bit more momentum within the culture right now of the church that says, okay, data says we've failed. Basics are what Jesus Christ has given us, that we've forgotten some of the art of evangelization and discipleship. Let's get back to that. But how do we do it? So there's some of us who are trying to help lead the church in a sense in doing this stuff. And I'm not taking credit and saying, listen to Marcel and we'll fix all the problems. No, what I'm saying is I'm good at diagnosing some of this stuff, okay? There are other people out there who are much better evangelists and disciplers and other things than I am. But I will tell you, it's sad that we don't have really the core of what the church is supposed to be about. The church is supposed to be about this stuff, and we're not even doing it. And that's what every generation wants. But millennials will, I think what they're doing is magnifying the issue for us, and that helps to respond quicker, in a sense. The church can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah. So what does good intergenerational ministry
Yeah.
look like practically on a parish level?
Yeah. So and you're trying to get the nuts and bolts. Let me give you a couple of things. Like, you go back to that Knights of Columbus stuff. Look, the Knights of Columbus do a lot of great stuff, fraternity, brotherhood, service, and stuff like that. What they need to do, though, is they also need to be doing evangelization and discipleship. Now, they don't forget the core of who they are as the Knights of Columbus, but they got to do the other stuff too, because that's what the church is all about. So what could it look like? Well, it looks like some of these older guys who do know what it's like to walk with Jesus, who have a prayer life, who are out serving the poor, who are doing this stuff and living it out in their family lives. And they take a young guy under their wing and they invite him into their home and they eat with them and they just talk to him and they get to know him and they love on him and they proclaim the gospel to him. And then here, let me give you another thing they need to do. At some point, when that guy is ready, they step out of the way and let that younger person take a role of leadership. This is something that's very important at parish levels, because what happens is, John, who's been running even if it's a great retreat, he might do it for 30 years. He's 67 years old. He's been doing it since he was in his middle ages. Those guys need to get out of the way, in a sense. And I'll be honest, part of the reason I left was because I saw some younger people here on staff who I thought were just phenomenal, and they had opportunities to move up. I want this to happen. That's what we do. We do in campus ministry is raise up leaders, and then they go to parishes and they die on the vine because they're not being used. Their leadership abilities are not being brought out. Their gifts and their charisms are not being, appreciated. And that's a big part of what ministry needs to do intergenerationally is mentor and love on, and then let lead, I think.
Yeah. So with that being the general case right now, how can millennials respond to this? If they're going into parishes, they feel underutilized, they feel like they're not being part, instead of just leaving or being discouraged and stopping trying, what are some things that you would say to encourage millennials to help this problem as well?
Yeah, first of all, be patient. Be very, very patient. The parish is not your campus ministry or youth ministry that you've experienced, or the conference that you went to, or the retreat that you've had a great high on. It's not your little worship, community, or your charismatic group, or your Latin Mass community that you love. The parish is where real life happens, and that means there's a bunch of sinners there who really don't understand necessarily what it means to be a saint yet. So you got to be patient. I remember when I moved out of St. Mary's and I went to my first parish, which will go unnamed at this point. One of the things I did was that, my wife and I, we went to talk to the pastor and said, well, how can we serve? And he basically said, go help with the youth ministry. We don't want to help with the youth ministry. What else can we do? Can we start a Bible study? He said, I guess so. Can we start a young married couples group? I guess so. That married in a different form, but that young married couples groups, they're still going on in that parish.
Oh, wow.
The Bible studies that we started, we're still in contact with some of those people. I mean, those were real relationships on a real local level that really mattered and made a difference. I still have friends from our married couples group. A number of them that, godparents to our kids, somebody, another couple that moved back into town that we're still good friends with and we hang out with. I mean, it's just one of those things where life should be lived in community, in Christian community, so that you can build each other up. But you got to be patient, because every relationship takes time. And secondly, you're not going to change a church overnight. This is a big ship, and we got into this mess over the course of hundreds of years. It's going to take a long time to fix it. So, you want me to keep going?
I do want you to keep going. This is way too good. We paid you a lot of free to come here and spend 17 minutes with us.
So, I'll give you a couple other things. I think that it goes both ways also. The millennials who also know what they want need to be able to learn how to voice that in a way that's not offensive, okay, or not in your face. And what I mean by that is you need to respect the fact that some of these folks who built the parish communities that you're part of right now have put their blood, sweat, tears, and time into a lot of this stuff. And we don't want to underappreciate what they've done either. Even if you disagree with them on a doctrinal issue or some pastoral level, or they don't get it or whatever, you want to appreciate them for whatever you can. So the other thing is that some of these folks who may not have a living relationship with Jesus Christ, who may not have a prayer life, and who may be just jumping through the Catholic hoops, who may not be what we would call an intentional disciple, somebody who's made a choice, I want to follow Jesus Christ the rest of my life, then our job's to reach out and evangelize those people. So the fact of the matter is, intergenerational ministry doesn't just mean always the older person walking with the younger person and teaching them everything. Sometimes it's going to be a younger person that's going to have to help an older person come to know Jesus Christ and walking with them. So don't think that just because you get to go into a parish, that you get just to be served. Your job as a Christian is to serve. So young people, that's the thing. You got to lay down your life to get life. You got to die to get life. And that's tough. I mean, but that's the only promise we have in the gospel is that we're going to suffer.
Right.
And that love is difficult. It takes sacrifice. And so, you talked about being a hero. You want to be a hero, then heroically love.
Yeah.
Do something heroic. And that means I'm going to love somebody how they want to be loved and the way they want to be loved, why they want to be loved right now, where it sucks. And I don't even necessarily want to, but I'm going to do it because it's the right thing to do.
Preach, man, preach. I really appreciate you coming on. This has been a great time with Marcel LeJeune. Go follow him on Twitter. It's at MarcelLejeune. He is 28 people away from 3,000 followers.
Been there 17 years.
I know. Let's get him there right now. I'm only 2,500 away from that number. So go follow Marcel. Marcel, thanks for coming, man.
All right, thanks.
All right. We are back for the final segment of Forte Catholic for the evening. Right in the midst of our one of our more lighthearted shows in the last few weeks. I want to thank Marcel for coming on the show. That was just a great interview. Right whenever he left, the other four people sitting here were like, that was really good. And then Abby, our wonderful producer's girlfriend, was like, what did you say?
It lit a fire.
Set a
in my
fire
soul.
in my soul.
Lit a fire in my heart. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. Such a sweet moment. And she's also knitting, which is real weird. But we're having some fun today. If you're just joining us, we played a game in the first segment about a love song or worship song, and it got real creepy. And then Marcel LeJeune came and talked to us about how to bridge the gap between millennials and the older generation within the church. We're going to have some fun in this segment too. So we're going to be talking about Song of Songs, which is one of the most interesting books in the Bible, and how that connects with an R&B song from 2006,
Sounds about right.
2005, something like
I
that.
was in middle school.
When I stopped listening to new songs, that's what Kyle thinks.
Yep.
Because all of my playlist is from when I was in high school, living in the best years of my life, back when I had hair. That's the last time I had hair. It was 2005, 12 years ago.
Oh, no.
So here's kind of the backstory and how this R&B song and Song of Songs connected for me. If you've never read Song of Songs, do so and then go to confession. I'm just kidding.
It's that spicy book.
It's scripture, but it's very, very spicy. That's how we'll say it on Catholic radio. So it's really weird to be weirded out by talking about a book in the Bible on Catholic radio. I might get in trouble for talking about the Bible on this episode, but it's all about joy, right? We're having some fun. Speaking of fun, so this all happened in the same day. There was a saint story I heard, and there was a Song of Songs thing, and it was hilarious. And then there was this R&B song, and all of it was super funny. The joy thing. So joy is a big part of the Catholic faith. That's why we've been having a lot of fun today. After a heavy show last week, we wanted to just have a lighthearted show. So St. Philip Neri, who we actually celebrated his feast day about 2 weeks ago, I've never done anything saintly in my life.
True.
This was the one thing, though. This was the one thing that I've done. St. Philip Neri once shaved off half of his beard. And you'd think to teach people a lesson. No. He simply did it because it was funny. So St. Philip Neri, who people will go to his church and venerate him, once shaved off half of his beard as a joke. And I'm just that's a saint I can be like. Because when I was working at a church camp, Deer Creek Camp in Medina, Texas, we'll actually be interviewing somebody from that camp next week on the show. So stay tuned for that. I mean, don't stay tuned. That'd be a long time to listen. I listened to 7 straight 24-hour days of radio. Looking forward to that interview.
You have 2 bathroom breaks.
And you can get Domino's delivered to you every 6 hours. So we at this camp, we couldn't have a beard. We had to be like the American man, completely clean shaven, dressed nice, all that kind of stuff. So, but because we couldn't have a beard the whole summer, we grew out our beards over all like from the winter into the spring to see which counselor could have the biggest beard coming into the summer, because we had 1 week at camp before campers got there where we could have our beard. So we had the competition. I got second. I don't like losing, but I got second in our stupid game earlier, Sam. So it's all Sam's fault. It has nothing to do with me. So I got second. And then the last day that we could have our beards, the day before the campers came, we just did like who could have the craziest beard. And so one guy, the guy who won, actually like shaved everything except the mustache and then curled the mustache like 8 times around his cheeks. It was hilarious. What I did, I had like the neck beard, everything, right? I just did Two-Face, and I shaved right down the middle from like the tip of my nose all the way over to the right, and I had my head shaved too. And what was really funny is, so let's see. No, I kept the hair on my right side, so my left side was all clean.
Okay.
And I go the next morning, and I'm cooking breakfast next to this girl, and she's on my right side. So she looks at me and she sees the beard, right? I'm cooking eggs next to her for 20 minutes. And then right when it's ready, I turn to her and she's looking at me. She goes, ah! She freaked out because I had half this beard. So that is the most saintly thing I've ever done in my life. So we were having a lot of fun at this retreat. It was our staff retreat for Blaze Ministries a couple of weeks ago. And I was reading, it was interesting because I was reading a different part of the Bible. And then God was just like, go read Song of Psalms. Like, I have something that I want to share with you from Song of Songs. He didn't speak to me, but I was just like, Song of Songs just doesn't pop into my head, right? So as I'm praying, Song of Songs gets put on my head, put on my heart, whatever. And so I open it up and I start reading. I was like, God, where do you want me to go? And he quit talking to me. So I just started at the beginning. So in the first chapter of Song of Songs, in the 5th verse, I'm in this like super deep prayerful mode. God's telling me something, right? And then I get to the 5th verse, and the fifth verse of Song of Songs says, I am black and beautiful. So I'm just like, this is my new favorite verse. I love this so much. So what Song of Songs is it's a love song between a man and a woman. So between like two new lovers, or they're getting married, that sort of thing, right? So it's very sensual. It talks about the marital act and all these kinds of things, right? But the whole book is meant to show how God loves us, like as the bride of Christ. So like God is the bridegroom, we are the bride, and he's like, I think you're beautiful. I love you. Like, I want to spend time with you. All these kinds of things that you would say in a beautiful relationship. So even in the context of this, I am black and beautiful, it's really interesting because I saw it, just laughed for forever and didn't look into like the meaning of it was until the show today, right? I just thought that's hilarious because Sam, who's on the show now, she's half black, right?
It's true.
And so I went and found Sam at the retreat, and I was like, Sam, I found your new life verse. It's amazing. What's really interesting, because this whole story is allegory, like it's a story written to mean something else, a deeper meaning, and it's obviously right at the beginning, first five verses of this book, and she's saying, "I'm black and beautiful," like and she says like, I'm beautiful, but then she keeps going and she's like, I'm different than other women. And it's this kind of she's someone who works out in the fields, so she gets dirty. It's essentially kind of what she was saying. And all these hoity-toity rich women who are typically who the guys would go after, right? The more sophisticated, clean, in the house, rich. Like that's who most guys, especially in that time, would go for. And she says it over and over. This isn't the only time that she says she's black or she's dark or that kind of thing. It might be a translation thing, but she's like, I'm just a regular person. And then right after that, because it goes like in most Bibles, it tells you like, you could figure it out, but in most Bibles, it tells you like, this is when the man's talking, this is when the woman's talking. So it's like a conversation between the two of them. And right after she says like, I'm not that good. I'm not like the other girls. Like the first thing he says is like, I think you're beautiful. And it's just like, oh my gosh. So if this is supposed to be a story about our relationship with God, and I was like, God, this is actually it. Like he brought me to this thing because he knows my sense of humor. He knew that when I read I'm black and beautiful, I was going to lose it, right? But then as I kept reading, it was kind of all a big joke. But even now, like in preparing for the show, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is my relationship with God, right? Because I'm like, oh, I'm not as holy as these other people. I've done bad things. I've dirtied myself. I've gone to the dark side, right? Like, you wouldn't choose me. And God's like, no, I love you. Like, I want you, right? And I was just like, man, that's so crazy. That's what the whole point of this Song of Songs book is. And then because I'm me, immediately this song from 2005, R&B song, popped into my head. All right, so that is "Let Me Love You" by Mario. So let's walk through some of these lyrics. So as you were listening, Sam, what were some of the thoughts that you had as you were listening? Does this connect to Song of Songs at all? Did you make any of the same connections that I did?
Yes, I was on the same page there. I liked it.
She's reading my mind. She knows what page I'm on. Why'd you like it? What kind of connection did you make?
Yeah, I think like sometimes like we as people, we sin because we're sinners, and like God's like, why do
Speak
you
for yourself?
why do you want to stick around like with these people who don't know what's good for you? Like, just let me love you. Let me tell you how good you are. Let me show that to you.
Right. So it says like we're just gonna walk through these lyrics. So baby, I just don't get it. Do you enjoy being hurt?
Mm.
And it's like God's sitting there is like, you're in a bad relationship. And who's the relationship with? Like, it's with the evil one, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's with Satan. And it's like, why aren't you coming to me? Why do you keep sinning? Like, do you enjoy being hurt by yourself, by other people? He's like, you know that it's bad. I know that you smell the perfume. You see the makeup on his shirt. You know deep down, you don't believe his stories. You know that they're all lies. But you stick around, and I don't know why. It's like, we know that Satan's a bad dude, but yet we stay in this lifestyle of sin. And and it's so interesting. He doesn't say, stop loving him, love me instead. He says, let me love you. It's like, because God's looking at it, it's like, look, Satan doesn't love you. He doesn't want what's good for you. And it's so interesting because so often when we're in this case, we're like, I'm sinning, I need to love God. And this was so through an R&B song in this silly verse in Song of Songs, this is what God was saying to me. Because I think like that all the time. I mess up. Oh, I need to love God better. And God at this retreat where we were able to slow down, he's like, stop. Like, let me love you. I'm the one that's good at this, right? Let me love you, and then the rest will come. So, and then he says, if I was your man, baby, you'd never worry about what I do. I'd be coming home back to you every night doing what's right. So he's contrasting what this other man is doing, right? What Satan is doing. Cheating on you. Like, not wanting what's good for you, coming back with makeup and perfume and all these things. And God's like, I want you, and I'd be faithful. I'd come back to you every night. I would always be with you. I'm not going to mess you up. And it's like, there's this stark contrast between these two men and between Satan and God in this modern day allegory, just like Song of Songs, right? Thanks, Mario. Writing a new scripture. Not really. That's heresy. And then he says, you're the type of woman that deserves good things, a fistful of diamond and a handful of rings. Baby, you're a star. I just want to show you are. So like, this woman doesn't see the beauty that the singer of this sees in her. And he's like, God wants good things for us. He wants to bless us. He wants us to enjoy our life. But if we're still holding on to these things that Satan has for us, if we're still holding on to our life of sin, if we don't let go and let him love us, then a lot of times those things can't happen. He says, you should let me love you. Let me be the one to give you everything you want and need. Good love and protection. Make me your selection. I'll show you how true love's supposed to be. So God, like, if this is God, God's saying like, look, just choose me and I'll show you true love. Again, not asking for all that much in return, right? It's like, you do this and you'll know what true love is. And then he goes into this beautiful thing, your true beauty's description. Like, when God looks up beauty in the dictionary, it's a picture of you. It looks so good that it hurts. You're a dime plus 99, right? So like, you're gorgeous. If 10's the best you can be, it's 10 plus 99. It's a shame you don't even know what you're worth. Everywhere you go, everybody stops and stares, and it shows from your head to your toe, out of control, baby. Like, God's out of control in love for us, right? We were talking about the silly worship songs, silly love songs, like, but God is madly in love with us. Like, he's so in love with us that this Song of Songs was written the way that it is. Like, he loves you more than a husband, like the best husband loves his wife, or the best wife loves her husband. Like, he loves you more than that. He sees good in us even when we don't see it, and he sees our true worth. And our response is not first, let's love God more because of it, but let him love on us, right? And like, in our times of prayer, let God love on us. When things aren't going bad, let him love on us. So with all this joy that we've been sharing today, and talking about about love, I would be very joyful if you can show some love for the show. So there have been a few by doing two things. If you can rate this show on your favorite podcast app, if you're listening to this on iTunes or Google Play, if you could go and rate the show, it would be fantastic. So how podcasts work, how more people can find the show is the more ratings it gets, the more, 5 stars, the more people write comments about the show, the more it will show up to people when they search like the word Catholic in the iTunes store. There's a couple people that have done this. Our good friend Adam Minahan from the Catholic Man Show said there's a lot of fun and full of energy. This podcast is super easy to listen to while still learning about the Catholic faith. 5 stars. So thanks, Adam. If you post a review on the show, I will read it at some point pretty soon on the show. Also, we started a Patreon about a month or so ago, and I've kind of pushed it a little bit, but I wanted to take a little longer. Typically, I just say it in like the last 4 seconds because I never give this time. So I'm giving it a little time today. Help me out. This is a way that you can support the show. The show like costs money to keep the website up, to put the podcast up, all that kind of thing. So if you can help us negate that cost, I would appreciate it. You can go to Patreon. patreon.com/Forte Catholic. I'm having a baby in a few months. I could use all the extra money I could get. So guys, thanks for listening. Again, thanks Marcel for coming on the show. Thanks for the 4 of you for sticking around. This has been fun. See ya!